What's good, everybody? This is Ethan with Predestined Gaming, and I'm here with a deck profile, a regional report for the January 5th regional at Louisville, Kentucky, and a lingering sinus infection. So, before I keel over and die here on camera, let's jump in on it. So, we played Pendulum Magician for the event, and if you remember, I warned you about this creepy guy in the corner of your locals with this long trench coat. Told you he'd give you a Crusadia deck for half a pack of smokes. Well, this is what he would hand you if you said, got anything else? So, this is a super budget deck. I'm pretty sure you could get this whole thing for less than $100, and that's just insane given how versatile and adaptable this deck is to like whatever situation you find yourself in, because you've got access to like this whole toolbox of rank 4s and Synchros 7s and 8s and just different ways you can build and tech it for the format and cheeky side deck stuff you can do. But that's one of the reasons I chose it, because I wasn't quite sure what to expect at the regional level. But anyway, more on that later. Let's hop in and check out this list. So, to start out with the Pendulum Magician lineup, we have Triple Wisdom Eye. Wisdom Eye is great because he's any scale you need him to be in the situation, and he's also great for triggering Chronograph, which is something that I'll say about a whole lot of things over the course of this video. Next up we have Harmonizing Magician, and she's great because she enables your rank 4s and your synchros and all that fun stuff. She's also great, honestly, going second if you establish her as a scale when you see her in like multiples or something, because like, you know, she gives 100 to all your monsters for each face-up magician you have in your extra deck. So that comes in clutch sometimes, because like if you can just spam the board with a bunch of just huge bodies, like that's been a strategy that's worked in Yu-Gi-Oh for 20 years, and it's, you know, no less viable today. Next up we got Chronograph Sorcerer and the one Time Gazer Magician. So Chrono's great, and he's honestly, I think, probably the most versatile card in the deck, because not only is it a turbo card, but also he is one that lets you get your cheeky side deck techs out of your hand and onto the field, or like your Avian or whatever. And that's a little bit of foreshadowing for when we get to the side deck, because I have like one tech that might make this video worth watching. Don't skip forward though, because that would be not cool. Anyway, so moving on, we got the 2 Oath Dragon. Oath Dragon's great for your resource game, so like he helps you grind it out, because if you end up with him as your low scale, then like you constantly have this recursion of, say, like Harmonizing Magician. Like you're constantly able to push her out, put out rank 4s, put out your synchros, and just like grind them out. I honestly, people say that Pendulum Magician has a bad grind game. I don't understand why. Yes, if they like twisters your scale or whatever, sure, that sucks, but the deck can come back from like so many terrible situations. Next up, this I'm not super happy about. We had 2 Black Fang and 2 Purple Poison. So one of each of these was supposed to be Abyss Actor Curtain Raiser, just as another turbo card, but I just didn't get them in the mail and didn't find them at the event, so sucks to be me, I guess. That being said, I actually wasn't super disappointed in having 2 purple in the main, just because he's so great for spot removal. He's good for going second. He helps you OTK. You don't always win the dice roll, obviously, and there's not many decks in this format right now that go blind second. I did run into a blind second Sky Striker player though, so that was interesting. And also a Thunder Dragon player who gave me first in game 2, and I'm not quite sure why. But that being said, Black Fang just sucked like the whole day. He was terrible. I only ever like grabbed him off a pen call and like used him for a high scale, and I'm not even sure that that was optimal given the access to Oath Dragon and whatnot. But honestly, I would end up siding out one of each of these every game 2 and 3 anyway, and so like it's just kind of a thing that's gonna definitely be changing moving forward. Next up you got the one Oath Dragon and the one Janky Magician. So Oath Dragon, that's not Oath Dragon, excuse me, that's Dragon Pit, yeah. So Dragon Pit was slept on because he's got this cool back row removal thing going on, and it's like you can say scale him up when you're going second against Altergeist in game 2 or something like that. Scale him up, pitch Darkworm, pop one of their back row, and that's pretty Gucci. Like I hit Strike, I hit the Widow Anchor. I just love that card. And Janky would have been even better had I actually played the Goki matchup like I thought, because if you establish this and like Abyss Dweller, they're really just not going to do anything that turn, because like he stops his old and Abyss Dweller turns off all the graveyard shenanigans, so that would have been fun to do. It was certainly fun to do at locals, but anyway. So that's it for the Pendulum Magician lineup. Moving on, we've got a couple more engines in here. We've got the Mythical Beast engine, so the 3 Master Cerberus and the 2 Jackal King. This engine's really good because it helps you trigger Chronograph in hand for one thing, but second of all, it's a turbo card. Like, if you open with Cerberus, like you can turbo him out onto the field so he can help you make Electromite without normal summoning, which is why Chronograph is great himself. But then, of course, let me not forget that he puts a 1-card negate on the field, and that is pretty baller. Jackal King, I slept on him myself because, like, in my first match that day, I didn't even understand how good his effect is. Like, I swung over this dude's Shizuku, and I didn't realize that he could negate Ray and Grave, and so I let him get on with that, and then, like, tried to stop her when she was on field, and so that sucked a lot, and the Sky Striker player pointed that out to me after. So you better believe next time I played a Sky Striker dude, like, and I had Jackal on field, I was like, Jackal negate. But anyway, so that's it for the Master, for the Mythical Beast engine. Next up, we've got the Darkworm engine, which is, of course, 3 Darkworm, 2 Gate 0. Darkworm is just so cool because, like, he's a good normal summon, which is something this deck honestly doesn't really have outside of himself. And, like, if you manage to, like, pitch him off Pendulum Call, or if you manage to pitch him off, like, Oath Dragon, then he's a +1, and that's super good. So he's pretty cool. I always wondered, when I was first trying to learn this deck, why people played like 2 of the bricks, which is the Gate Zeros, and like why they played 2 Jackal in the Mythical Beast engine. But it makes sense to me because playing Desires in the 40 card build is generally understood to be what's correct. So, like, it would suck to have 6 dead cards if you banish like your 1 of Gate and your 1 of Jackal. And also there's just the fact that, like, since this build is working with the whole Vortex engine, that it gives you 2 level 7s as well as the 2 level 7 Magicians you run, plus, like, you know, Avian if you ever found yourself wanting to do that for some reason. I'm not sure why you would. But that being said, nothing else on that engine. Next, there is what I have understood to be the Jeremy Mitchell special, which is a 3 Avian. And I liked Avian this weekend because he created something like a Mexican standoff with, like, all of these matchups where they had, like, that one card that I knew they were going to drop on me, like Widow Anchor. I had the Sky Striker player constantly afraid to flip Widow Anchor or to do anything, and so he kind of just let me keep grinding without baiting out the Avian, because he knew, like, I was going to stop it with that, so he had to have a follow-up, like, immediately after, and that was just good in itself. Like, he's a better Solemn Judgment on wings, and that's just so great, because even if you banish 2 of them and you draw into one of them off Desires, like, he's a recurring negate every turn, and that's just busted as all get out. So Avian's good. Next up for the spell lineup, we've got Double Shrine, 1 Foolish. That's obviously for Darkworm, but moving forward, I plan on making room for Destrudo because there's so many times where you'll find yourself opening like a Dark Worm and a Dragon Shrine, or a Dragon Shrine and the One Foolish somehow, and the crazy thing is, like, if you were able to have, you know, Destrudo as a target, then, like, when you finish making your Pendulum board, like, before you did all your shenanigans, you could shrine him off to the grave, then do your Pendulum stuff, and then, like, end up with one of your level 4s, your, like, a level 3 or whatever, still on field, or even a level 6 you can't do anything with. But, like, you know, Destrudo it out, then put up Dragster, put up, I don't know, Meteor Burst, whatever you need, and that's, like, never bad, so that's what I plan on moving forward. Next we got triple Pendulum Call. Whoa. Triple Pendulum Call. And Pendulum Call is great because it is, like, instantly a scale, and so yeah, that's nothing else to be said about that. And the dream combo, of course, is to pitch Dark Worm off that, which I finally got to realize this weekend. Moving on, we got finally the triple Pot of Desires. I'm going to spare you from being the guy that says this card says draw 2 cards on it, like everybody in every deck profile ever, but it does. So next up we got the extra deck. The one Elektra. Never resolved him, except for like once in all the games I played that day. Nobody would let him happen, whether it was Veiler, Impermanence, Ogre, like, they just did not want him to be on the board or functioning at all. So next up you've got Wee Witch's Apprentice for when you have the 2 darks, and that helps you when you're going second to facilitate the OTK. You've got the one Zephyr Metaltron, and he's only there to climb up into Vortex, so that's pretty cool, but he has a protection effect and like a resource recursion effect, so that's kind of cool. The TRex Evans, you've got Absolute Dragon for climbing to Vortex, and you've got Red Eyes Flare Metal for time. Never made that happen. Going forward, he'll probably become Borload Dragon when I have a spare $20. Next we got Naruto for the Spell and Trap Hate. Came in handy against the Altergeist player, which I expected to be my worst matchup, and it really wasn't. Like, 2-0'd him, and I oversighted, I think, in some ways for that, and, like, keyed my extra deck to just take care of back row, but it was a lot easier than I expected. Next up for the rank 4s, we have Tornado Dragon for back row, we've got Supreme King for the OTK, we've got Abyss Dweller for stopping the graveyard from doing anything, and we've got Honor Arc for sorry, my wife is being affectionate. Anyway, so Honor Arc to stop problem monsters from being on the board, because you don't like that. Whoa. Excuse me. There we go. So for the Synchros, you've got Omega, you've got Ignister Prominence, you've got Dawn Dragster, and Meteor Burst. Omega, I never made him all day because I never found need for it. Honestly, I'm thinking about taking him out for, what would I put in? I'd probably put in Evil Swarm Nightmare just to shut down so many people's turns. That would be fun. Dragster was great. Ignister Prominence was great because he helped me get over some indestructible boys. I shuffled back a guy's Boral Sword, and that was funny. Didn't make this all day, but he's really just there to help you make Vortex if you don't have another way, or if, like, it would make your end board better somehow. And then there's, of course, Vortex, which you shuffle back a Pendulum to negate basically anything. It's pretty good. Now for the side deck, we've got Triple Effect Veiler, which is what you play if you can't afford Infinite Impermanence. We've got Triple Twin Twisters, which is what you play if you hate back row. You've got Triple Dimensional Barrier if you don't like rambunctious children playing pranks or thunder dragons. Now here is Chaos Hunter, 3 of. This is something that I put in just for cheeky like banishing strategies, and there were a couple games against Thunder Dragon players and whatnot, and also a zombie mill deck where I was able to trigger Chrono to pop and to bring himself and her out onto the field without even having to discard for her, and that was pretty great. It kind of just shut the Thunder Dragon players down from doing all their banishing stuff, so that was cute. And then finally we had Dark Hole, Raigeki, and not Twin Twister, Mind Control, which were supposed to be 3 Denko Sekka, but same problem with the Curtain Raisers. Anyway, that is it for the main extra inside. So now for a report on the regional. A bit about the event for me as a player. It was my first regional, and for those of you who don't know me personally, I'm legally blind because I have a disease called achromatopsia. And so going into it, I was a little nervous, like, oh man, what if I have a hard time seeing, you know, the, like the pairings and whatnot, or I need to read a card, but my eyes are getting super tired because I'm super nearsighted and it's hard to see, like, tiny card texts, especially on a deck like Pendulums, like I played. But, so, thankfully, the judges at the event were super accommodating. Huge shout out to them for allowing my wife to come sit at the table with me and read cards for me that I needed read. And of course, a massive thank you to my wife who did, you know, our driving. We only live like 2.5, 3 hours away from Louisville, but yeah, she was just tremendously helpful all day, and she was a trooper. You'll see some content with her on the channel in the coming days. Her name is Megan, and so, yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, I got married since the last video. Anyway, guys, that's it, and I hope you guys have a great day, or night, or wherever you are, what time it is. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Check it out. We got more content coming up, more deck profiles from the regional, more live duels, more replays, all that kind of fun stuff, discussions. I got a lot of stuff in the works. Anyway, that's it. Peace out.